English with Deck. Okay, part 3 about me. Me, about me. Ha 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 ha. Wow, that sounds so self-centered. No. Today I would like to just talk quick. This will be a slightly longer episode, but talk a little bit about me for the third part in this series. Before we do that, though, off the bat, I just want to say the reason I have done these about me episodes pretty sporadically, I haven't done them one after another, is because, well, firstly, I want you guys to sort of process it, and I want you to be able to sort of re make your own decisions and make your own opinions, in between the episodes. And also, um, I figured you can actually search back for the previous episodes if you would like. That is basically a long-winded way of saying I am very unorganized about this particular about me project, so I just did it as and when I had the opportunity. Maybe I'm too honest. Okay, now yes, like I said, part 3 about me. So yeah, we got at the end of part 2, we were leaving England. Now, for part 3, I'm going to really quickly summarize the following. However, I will touch on it in later episodes, of course, and I really want to go into more detail about my life to give people an idea of the differences and the opportunities out there. Now, also, I just want to say, I've lived in a few countries now, and honestly, I don't have many bad experiences that come to mind straight away. So maybe that's lucky. Maybe I just made the right decisions. Who knows? But anyway, let's get started. Okay, so after England, I went to New Zealand, and let me say straight up, New Zealand is phenomenal. Wow, what a country. You can do so many things, and you can do so little, if that makes sense. Sounds very contradictory. However, both of those things are 100% true. There's no massive metropolis areas. But there's pretty big urban areas if you go looking for them. Or if you want to, you can easily just go relax on a beach, go camping, live your life in the middle of the forest. It's not difficult there. You know, I had a great time in New Zealand. I travelled around a lot. New Zealand is actually the place I first got into teaching, actually, and that's what really started my journey there regarding teaching. Um, but anyway, yeah, aside from doing a bit of teaching and stuff like that, I also did a lot of travelling, of course, and I worked predominantly for one construction based company who were designing and building tennis courts and swimming pools. Now, that's a pretty cool thing in itself, if you ask me. Um, and aside from the work side of things, yeah, I just did a lot of relaxing, enjoying myself, and I really got involved with the locals there. And like anywhere, there are good and bad things. But honestly, there's not so many that come to mind with the bad with New Zealand. Apart from the cost of living. It was pretty high, and it is still pretty high. Apart from that, though, I'm I'm struggling to sort of actually think of anything which is worth mentioning, which is out of the ordinary. Um, so to sum up, basically, would I go back to live in New Zealand again? Well, absolutely. If I had certainty of being very comfortable, as in stable employment, etc., etc., just simply because of the cost of living. Anyway, after New Zealand, I was in Malaysia and Singapore. I did it in reverse order: Singapore and then Malaysia, just traveling, enjoying myself there. And then after that, I hopped on another plane over to Australia. Now, a similar situation for myself in Australia as to New Zealand. A lot of traveling, a lot of working, and just generally enjoying myself. Now, Australia is very unique, I'd say the climate really does have an effect, it really creates this sort of laid back sort of attitude, generally speaking. Of course, I am speaking generally. There are some people who are maybe don't have the best intentions, of course, as with any country. But I think generally speaking, Australian way of life is pretty good overall, you know. And yeah, when I was in Australia again, I worked for a really interesting company doing some civil projects. For those of you who are unaware, civil projects would basically mean government based projects. For example, civil construction, government based construction. Civil waterworks, as in waterworks like sewage and stuff like that for the government projects. I didn't do any of that. But basically, yeah, in a nutshell, anything related to government projects. However, I did end up in a situation where I needed to obtain another visa just to continue living there. So my obvious options were sponsorship, which would have tied me down to one specific location and company. Can be good, but I figured I should try and explore a little more. So I opted for option two, the working holiday visa. Very awesome opportunity. Really, really fantastic opportunity. It gives you the opportunity to travel to work. You're working in the rural areas. The pay might not be so great depending what you do, but it's the experience as much as anything. And you're working for that visa. So you do 90 days work. It might have changed since I was there. But anyway, when I was there, you do 90 days work and they let you stay for another year because of those 90 days you've worked. And I think they've made a third year as of a few years ago. But anyway. Yeah, so I decided to do that visa, to take on that visa. So to obtain it, I had to do rural work. So I went up to the north of Australia to a very rural area. Lots of farmland, absolutely fantastic, really beautiful. And also during that time, I was getting more into the teaching work on the side and all that sort of stuff, and really, really getting to know lots of people from different cultures, different backgrounds. Absolutely fantastic. And actually, I'm still in contact with quite a few of those people to this day. Anyway, during that time, I met my now wife. That's where we met. And it came to a point where we were planning actually to continue our travels. We did a bit of travel together around Australia, then we were going to go to other countries and whatnot. However, certain things occurred, and because of that, we had to make a decision. Well, do we go to England or do we go to Japan? And after a lot of umming and ahhing, we decided on Japan. And that was honestly the best decision we could have made. It allowed us so many opportunities, and it really has allowed us just to become the dynamic that we are today. So I'm very, very thankful for that. And being here has really allowed me to pursue many different opportunities in various fields. And it also has allowed my wife to be back here, has allowed her to focus on many things as well. And honestly, if I hadn't have made those decisions in England, if I hadn't have made those decisions in New Zealand, if I hadn't have made those decisions in Australia, I wouldn't be right here talking to you now. So you never know where you'll end up or what you'll end up doing. Anyway, that is about all we have time for today. So have a great day, have a great evening, and see you again next time. Bye for now.